In my ongoing series of top 10s, I've talked about many important aspects of modern G1 Transformers, like who has the best face and who can kneel best, and which alt mode trumps all others. There's nothing wrong with this picture, by the way, just move along. But for this video, I wanted to attempt something a bit more personal. Why am I actually collecting these figures in the first place? And can a person's irrational attachment to a 40-year-old toy line be broken down into an easily digestible, YouTube-friendly, numbered list? We're about to find out. Hello internet friends, my name's Napyet, and these are the top 10 reasons to collect modern G1 Transformers. For me. Number 10, variety. For years I eyed the Masterpiece collection with envious eyes and was on the verge of taking the plunge many times. The accuracy and attention to detail was, and continues to be, incredible. But I always held off because what I really wanted was a line that included all those obscure characters, background players, that were highly unlikely to appear in a premium line. There's a market for a £200 Starscream, but is there the same demand for a Sharkticon or a Combiner team? That doesn't mean the collector has to take out a second mortgage in order to afford it. In recent years, the number of characters based on the original cartoon from Hasbro has broadened in scope to the point where it's now pretty much what I'm looking for. Deep cuts like Straxus and Emirate Zaron from the G1 comic are perhaps the most obvious example. A really good modern release of a classic Combiner team with the Stunticons. It's not cheap, but it's doable for a cost-conscious collector. It looks like Devastator and the Aerial Bots are coming as well. I've said it before and I say it again, Hasbro isn't perfect, but they're getting more things right than wrong these days. Number 9, price. Touched on above, but I wanted to go a little bit deeper on price. How much we spend is a delicate topic and I don't want to pass judgment on what's reasonable and what's not. We're all adults and entitled to invest as much or as little disposable income as we wish. Hell, people spend ludicrous amounts on their cars, the latest football kit or nights out on the town, in comparison to which a deluxe Transformer every now and then seems positively modest. Personally, however, I still struggle with the really big ticket items and have yet to spend more than £100 on a single figure. It's the reason I haven't picked up that Stunticon gift set yet. I will eventually when the time's right. But everything goes back to childhood, I think. I remember my parents sitting me down once. I'd obviously been badgering them too much for something that I wanted and trying to explain to me that money wasn't infinite. I couldn't have everything I wanted when I wanted it. Currently, I think Hasbro's offerings are about right, and the different price points mean I can slowly build a collection even when I'm feeling thrifty. Maybe I'll only buy a core class Frenzy 1 month and then another month splurge on 2 sweeps and a Starscream leader class. Of course, the price is generally creeping up and it's difficult to quantify exactly what each figure is worth. Is leader class Grimlock really worth £30 more than deluxe Jazz? I don't know, but it seems like for now I can live with it. Just don't shout it too loudly so Hasbro hears. Number 8, the double A's, accuracy and articulation. I remember always wishing the toys on my shelf looked like the cartoon in the 80s, and I could replicate what the Transformers actually did. Like walking. Even my 7-year-old self was aware of that disconnect. Why couldn't Jazz's legs move? Why was Ultra Magnus in robot mode basically a brick from the waist down? You could waddle them back and forth. Look, Mom, he's walking. No, he's not. And you know he isn't. That's why in my videos I'm always banging on about the double A's. It's the battery that drives my interest in the modern line. These two things, accuracy and articulation. They really do look like the characters they're meant to be, and the range of posability you can get with them is remarkable now. And I have to remind myself all the time something that I just take for granted. These are not just really articulated, intricate action figures. They transform, for goodness sake. They're 2 toys in one. Before I start to sound like a religious zealot, I'll just say, yeah, they're better than they used to be. Number 7, I'm a grown-up now. It might seem like an obvious point, but collecting as an adult is far less fraught than collecting as a kid. Nobody gets to decide what I can buy and what I can't. I'm my own boss. And it only took 46 years to get there. Not bad going, eh? Seriously though, the freedom to pick and choose is a privileged position and I never take it for granted. Even now writing this, I'm acutely aware of how fortunate I am to be in a position to spend time and money on what is essentially a frivolous pursuit. I sometimes come away from YouTube feeling sad when I hear from commenters who have lost their love of collecting. It's almost as if collecting has made them feel bitter and resentful. The reasons for this could be many, and I'm in no position to speculate, but it's obviously something I hope to avoid. Currently, my strategy is always to remember this is just a hobby, a sideline that should enhance my life, and at the point at which it stops doing that, I think I'll probably be out. Number 6, nostalgia. It's a bit of a dirty word these days, I think, because it can lead to the constant recycling of old ideas, rebooting movies, for instance, and the accusation that people are living in the past, that things were always better back in the day. I've never believed this. Despite a happy childhood, I've no desire to return to mine. I agree that nostalgic thought should not be the driving factor behind the choices we make as adults, but to dismiss nostalgia entirely, I think it's a mistake. After all, what is it? Nostalgia is happy memories. Nobody has nostalgic thoughts about the time they were nearly run over or thumped in the face. So to say that we should never be nostalgic about the past, that's basically saying don't remember or hold dear any of those times you were most happy. Just remember all the learning experiences, all those times you were bullied or made to feel excluded, disappointment, embarrassment, failure, alienation. Those are the memories that are important that you need to hold on to, not the times you were naively happy about finding a transformer. Pardon my French, but sod that. The memories I have of finding that transformer I wanted, or one I didn't even know exist on the shelves, or being bought one by my mum when it wasn't even my birthday. Those are precious memories, and as important as the time David Cambridge stole my Game Boy and nobody believed me. Number 5, display. I really like displaying things. Before I got into Transformers collecting, actually retro toy collecting, but this is a Transformers video, I had one thing on my wall, a glossy poster of the video game Monkey Island, bought for me as an adult by my brother one Christmas, and that was that. As an adult, I never surrounded myself with the things I liked and that meant something to me because those things weren't for grown-ups. As adults, we're meant to have watercolours of scenic vistas or detailed maps of the world, aren't we? But do we really love those pictures? Are we really captivated by world geography? Probably not. It's our sophistication that is on display. I didn't want those things, so I sat in a bare, unadorned space with no hint of my personality or interests on display. Everything was on my computer, like memories. Nothing physical, nothing real. The change came for me when I met my partner, who just let me be myself without judgment. And of course I had reached the point in life where I was financially able to collect again. We can't overlook those practical considerations. Either way, I honestly feel much happier on a daily basis now I'm surrounded by these things that I feel an emotional connection to. Transformers fulfill the same purpose for me as art. I would argue they are art. They're created by artists, talented artists and designers. And I hadn't realised until I took the plunge a couple of years ago just how much I'd missed having those things around me. Number 4, related hobbies. I started collecting Studio Series 86 in something of a vacuum. I just wanted to pick up the characters I remembered, some of them vaguely from being a kid. But as soon as I'd done that, I became curious again about the cartoon, and unlike an indistinct recollection, all the episodes still exist. It's like having a home movie of your Christmases and birthdays. You haven't seen it for decades, and suddenly it all comes flooding back. Next came the comics, and I'm currently working my way through every edition of the UK and US Transformers comics. So that's 3 hobbies for the price of 1. Do the cartoons and the comics hold up? Some of them, but it's more the discovery of the specifics that's interesting me. Like, I knew the first Cybertron arc that we saw when they actually went to the Transformers home world. That was amazing, but it was a hellish landscape and it really traumatized me. Now, having revisited that storyline, I can see why Transformers being pulled apart, blasted to bits, thrown into smelting pools. I also recalled the first time the Insecticons showed up in the cartoon as being very exciting. Something about lightning and Autobots rollerblading. Having watched the episode, I can now say it's more silly than exciting, but I'm really enjoying updating all those distant memories. It's like restoring or up-resing an old movie. The faded movie of my memory, or something like that. Shut up now. Number 3, then there's YouTube. I've been doing YouTube for several years now, talking about video games mostly. But the idea of making a channel about collecting Transformers didn't occur to me straight away. It seemed a very separate thing. And anyway, what could I say and do that hasn't been said and done by countless others far better? I really wasn't sure, but at some point I decided to point my phone at a Transformer, actually a bunch of Transformers. I'll link the video here, but if you do watch it, please forgive the rambling nature of it. Ever since then, ideas for new videos have been coming, more than I can actually produce in the time I have to devote to this, to the point where working on this channel feels as rewarding, if not more so, than my other one. I get to be creative, make funny shorts. I've always been someone who looks for the funny side on things, and just coming up with topics for videos like this one, it really makes me think, and that's always good, outside George Orwell's 1984, of course. Number 2, society. Collecting Transformers is no longer something you do in secret and in isolation. I'm not so naive I tell everyone I meet I love toys. But through the internet, it's hard to feel alone as you're doing it. You lot are everywhere. You're watching this video for goodness sake, and welcome. I forgot, did I say that? I even remember as a kid being made to feel immature and stupid. We had a choice of videos we could watch on the coach during a school trip. I wanted Transformers, but of course all the cool kids wanted to watch Spurs versus United wankers. Now we can unite in our nerdiness online and off it through increasing numbers of conventions and meetups. I'm a pretty introverted person when I'm not making YouTube videos, but the connection I feel and the conversations I have with you guys are a big part of why this hobby of collecting Transformers has felt so rewarding for me so far. I've already said I'm enjoying it now more than I did when I was a kid even, and writing this point, thinking about it, has kind of crystallized that idea for me. Yeah, it's not nostalgia. It's not about happy memories of the past. It's about something tangible and now, and making new happy memories for the future. I think I just made myself puke a little. And finally, my number 1 point, it's got to be a good one, right? After such a rambling philosophical video, something that blows all the previous points out of the water. I'm feeling the pressure, I don't mind telling you. Number 1, I like Transformers. Well, duh, why would we be here otherwise? But how often do we actually stop and think, what is it about this race of transforming robots that captures our attention and has endured since the 80s? I think for me, it's because Transformers are essentially human. They have very grounded, relatable personalities. But unlike us, they're blessed with incredible bodies that can do all the things we can't. They can fly through the air or space or at incredible speed down the M25. They can shoot lasers, and when they're finished doing all that, they can fold up into a tape deck and listen to Radio 1. But the main reason I haven't collected these guys since the 80s is because until fairly recently, recreating G1 characters as accurately as possible was a pretty niche exercise, the purview of the Masterpiece and some other third-party producers. Hasbro's emphasis has always been on updating and reworking Transformers. And while I appreciate this has led to a new generation of people who love them, there's no doubt in my mind the brand would have died decades ago if they hadn't done that. All I've ever really wanted is the G1 done better. I guess it's simply the case that the market for that has now arrived. I'm willing to bet, and I've heard from enough of you that I feel pretty certain now that my experience isn't unique, a whole horde of us have arrived at the same point, at the same time. We're ready to collect again, and it seems to me that Hasbro has noticed. So that's my top 10 reasons to collect modern G1 Transformers. I'm sorry if it was a bit more of a rambling video than my other top 10s. I promise to get back to who has the best fingers and who has the best light piping eyes in the next video. But as always, please let me know your reasons for collecting in the comments. I read them all and I find them both interesting and a good source for new video ideas, particularly the ones about transforming Hot Rod. I'm an expert on that now, so keep those particular comments coming. Thanks for watching, guys. I've been Nap Yet, and I'll see you next time.